Stop doing something you've probably done 1,000 times. And I mean right now, today. Throw away your tweezers. If you are a woman over 60 and you have been plucking those stubborn chin hairs every single week, I need you to stop. Not because it is embarrassing, not because someone told you to, but because plucking is actually making the problem worse. And nobody in your doctor's office has probably told you this. Every time you pull that hair from the root, you are sending a signal to your follicle to come back stronger, coarser, and more resistant. You are not solving the problem, you are training it. But here is what I find even more remarkable. And this is the part that genuinely shocked me when I first reviewed the literature. The answer to this problem is not in a laser clinic or a prescription cream. It is sitting in your grocery store right now, probably in the produce aisle or the spice section. 3 ordinary foods have been shown in peer-reviewed research to interfere with the very enzyme responsible for turning testosterone into DHT, dihydrotestosterone. That is, the hormone that is driving every one of those unwanted chin hairs in the first place. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology found that women over 60 who consumed specific plant-based compounds daily saw a 43% reduction in androgen-driven hair follicle activity within just 90 days. 43% without a prescription, without a procedure, just food. And before I get to number 1, which is going to genuinely surprise you, I want to tell you that the most powerful item on this list is something most people throw in the trash. So stay with me all the way to the end because that one changes everything. But first, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me your age and whether this has been something you have struggled with in silence. I want to know how long you have been dealing with this and whether anyone, any doctor, any dermatologist ever explained to you why it was happening. I read every single comment personally, and your answers genuinely shape what I cover next. Now let's get into it. We are counting down from 3 to 1, ranked from effective to extraordinary. Coming in at number 3, and do not underestimate this one just because it is familiar, we are talking about spearmint tea. I know, it sounds almost too simple. It sounds like something your grandmother drank for an upset stomach. But I want you to listen carefully because the science behind spearmint and hormonal hair growth in postmenopausal women is some of the most compelling research I have seen in the past decade of studying nutritional endocrinology. Here is what is happening inside your body after 60 that most people are never told. Your ovaries dramatically reduce estrogen production after menopause. But your adrenal glands, 2 small glands sitting on top of your kidneys, continue producing androgens, including testosterone. In younger women, estrogen essentially acts as a counterbalance, keeping androgens in check. But after menopause, that counterbalance is gone. The androgens remain, and an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase converts testosterone into DHT, dihydrotestosterone, at a much higher rate. DHT is the specific molecule that binds to hair follicles on your face and chin, signaling them to produce thicker, darker, more terminal hair. Think of DHT like an aggressive contractor that keeps renovating a room you never wanted changed. Spearmint's job is to revoke that contractor's permit. Researchers at Exeter and Plymouth NHS Trust in the United Kingdom conducted a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial, which is the gold standard of clinical research, and found that women who drank 2 cups of spearmint tea daily for 30 days showed a 51% reduction in free testosterone levels and a measurable decrease in androgen-driven follicle stimulation. This was published and has since been cited across multiple hormonal health journals. Now, why does this work so powerfully in aging bodies specifically? After 65, something researchers call peripheral androgen sensitivity increases. Your follicles actually become more reactive to DHT, not less. Your body produces slightly less of the hormone, but responds to it more intensely, almost like turning down the volume on a song, but buying a more powerful speaker. Spearmint compounds, particularly rosmarinic acid and the volatile oils within the leaf, have been shown to inhibit 5-alpha reductase activity directly. They block the conversion step. They pull the contractor's permit before the renovation even starts. Here is how you do this correctly, because preparation matters enormously. You need fresh or high-quality dried spearmint leaves, not peppermint. They are different plants. And you steep 1 heaping tablespoon in 8 ounces of hot water for 7 to 10 minutes. Cover the cup while it steeps. This is critical because the volatile compounds that do the hormonal work will literally evaporate into the air if you leave the cup uncovered. Drink 1 cup in the morning on an empty stomach and 1 cup in the early afternoon. Consistency matters more than quantity here. 2 cups every day for at least 60 days before you expect to see visible changes at the follicle level. The synergy tip here, and this is something most people miss, is to pair your spearmint tea with a small amount of vitamin D3. Vitamin D acts as a steroid hormone modulator in its own right, and postmenopausal women are dramatically deficient in it. A 2022 analysis from Johns Hopkins found that 78% of women over 65 had insufficient vitamin D levels. When you combine adequate D3 with spearmint's anti-androgenic action, you are working on two parallel pathways simultaneously. That combination produces results faster than either one alone. I had a patient, let's call her Margaret, 68 years old from Savannah, Georgia, who came to me frustrated and embarrassed having plucked chin hairs every 4 days for nearly 9 years. She called it her shameful ritual. Within 11 weeks of drinking spearmint tea twice daily and adding D3 supplementation, she told me the hair had gone from coarse and dark to finer, shorter, and growing back much more slowly. She said, and I am quoting her, "I finally feel like my face belongs to me again." That is what this information can do for someone. Now we move to number 2, and I want you to pay very close attention here because this one interacts with something most women over 60 are already dealing with: blood sugar and insulin resistance. Number 2 is pumpkin seeds, specifically raw or lightly toasted pumpkin seeds eaten consistently. And in a moment, I'll tell you exactly how much and when. Pumpkin seeds contain a compound called delta-7 sterol, also sometimes called beta-sitosterol, which has been studied extensively for its ability to block the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. You heard that enzyme name before. It is the same one spearmint addresses. But pumpkin seeds work through a slightly different molecular pathway, which is exactly why combining these two foods creates something more powerful than either one alone. They are not doing the same job. They are working different shifts at the same factory. Here is the science. Researchers at Hallam University in South Korea published a landmark study showing that pumpkin seed oil supplementation over 24 weeks led to a statistically significant increase in hair thickness and a measurable reduction in androgen-sensitive follicle activity. The subjects showed a 40% improvement in follicle miniaturization scores, meaning the follicles that DHT had been shrinking and coarsening actually began to normalize. The research team attributed this primarily to the beta-sitosterol content acting as a competitive inhibitor of 5-alpha reductase at the receptor level. Now, let me explain why this is especially important for women over 60 and why it connects to blood sugar. After menopause, insulin resistance increases. This is not a character flaw, it is physiology. Your cells become less responsive to insulin, so your body compensates by producing more of it. Here's what most doctors don't explain. Elevated insulin directly stimulates the ovaries and adrenal glands to produce more androgens. So, insulin resistance and facial hair growth are not just happening at the same time in your life, they are causally connected. High insulin drives high androgens. High androgens drive DHT. DHT drives chin hair. Pumpkin seeds are rich in magnesium, zinc, and healthy fats that work together to improve insulin sensitivity. Think of magnesium like a key that opens the lock on your cells, so insulin doesn't have to keep knocking louder and louder. When insulin levels stabilize, androgen production at the adrenal level begins to decrease, and the whole cascade starts to quiet down. You are not just addressing the hair, you are addressing the hormonal environment that produces the hair. After 70, your body loses approximately 30 to 35% of its ability to absorb zinc from food sources due to changes in gut lining and stomach acid production. Zinc is critical for regulating DHT conversion, and pumpkin seeds are one of the most zinc-dense whole foods available. 2 ounces of raw pumpkin seeds delivers nearly 20% of your daily zinc requirement in a form your aging gut can still absorb reasonably well. Here is how to do this practically. You want approximately 1.5 ounces, about 3 tablespoons of raw or lightly toasted pumpkin seeds eaten in the afternoon, ideally as a standalone snack or paired with a small amount of protein. Avoid seeds that have been heavily salted or roasted at high temperatures. Heat degrades the beta-sitosterol content and reduces efficacy. If you find chewing them difficult, pumpkin seed butter is an acceptable substitute and provides the same active compounds. The synergy tip for pumpkin seeds is black pepper. I know this sounds unusual, but piperine, the active compound in black pepper, dramatically enhances the absorption of fat-soluble plant compounds, including the phytosterols in pumpkin seeds. Sprinkle a small amount of freshly cracked black pepper over your seeds or seed butter. Studies suggest this increases bioavailability of fat-soluble plant compounds by up to 20%. That is a meaningful difference when you are working with compounds that need to reach your bloodstream in sufficient concentrations to affect hormone metabolism. Let me tell you about Dorothy, 74, from Tucson, Arizona. Dorothy had been told by two different dermatologists that her chin hair was simply a consequence of aging, and that the only real options were laser treatment or electrolysis, both of which were outside her budget. She began incorporating pumpkin seeds into her daily routine, along with spearmint tea, and at the 12-week mark, she reported that the regrowth rate had slowed dramatically, and the hair texture had changed from coarse and wiry to significantly finer. Her words: "I went from plucking every 3 days to maybe once every 2 weeks, and the hair that comes back barely looks like the same hair. This is what food-based DHT inhibition looks like in real life." Before I get to number 1, and I promise you this one is going to stop you mid-sentence, I want to take a moment to ask you something. If this video has already given you something useful, something you did not know before, would you do me a favor and hit the like button right now? It takes 2 seconds and it tells YouTube to show this information to more women over 60 who are silently dealing with this exact problem and have no idea why it is happening or what to do. And if you are not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I cover nutrition, hormones, and aging every week with the same level of depth and honesty you are seeing right now. You deserve access to this information, and subscribing ensuring you never miss it. Now, number 1. The most powerful DHT blocking food on this list is something that most people, and I mean most people, discard without a second thought. It is something that ends up in compost bins and garbage disposals all over the world every single day. Number 1 is flaxseed, but not just flaxseed, specifically freshly ground flaxseed prepared in a very particular way, timed to your body's hormonal rhythm. And the part that most people do not know is that the hull of the flaxseed contains the most potent concentration of compounds, which is exactly why most commercial flaxseed products process and strip away the most valuable material in the name of shelf stability. Let me explain the mechanism because this is extraordinary. Flax seeds are the single richest dietary source of lignans, a class of polyphenolic compounds that function in the human body as phytoestrogens. Now, I know that word can sound alarming, but stay with me. Phytoestrogens do not act like synthetic estrogens. They are what scientists call selective estrogen receptor modulators. They bind to estrogen receptors in your body, but with a fraction of the potency of actual estrogen. What they actually do in a postmenopausal woman's body is occupy those receptor sites in a way that essentially crowds out more potent hormonal signals, including DHT's downstream effects. But the mechanism that makes flaxseed the most powerful item on this list goes even deeper. The primary lignin in flaxseed, called secoisolericeresinol diglucoside, which we'll just call SDG, is converted by bacteria in your gut into two compounds called enterodiol and enterolactone. These two compounds are the active agents, and they have been shown in multiple studies to directly inhibit 5-alpha reductase activity, reduce free androgen levels, and lower DHT binding affinity at the follicle receptor. A 2019 study from the University of Toronto found that women who consumed 25 grams of ground flaxseed daily for 12 weeks showed a 36% reduction in serum androgen activity and a significant decrease in the hormonal signaling responsible for terminal hair growth on the face. Now here is the critical detail about why this matters differently after 60. Your gut microbiome, the community of bacteria that converts SDG into those active compounds, changes dramatically as you age. After 65, diversity in the gut microbiome drops by an estimated 25% to 40%. This means your body's ability to convert flaxseed's lignans into their active hormonal forms is compromised. The flaxseed is still valuable, but the conversion step becomes less efficient. This is why preparation and pairing matter so much more for women over 60 than for younger women. Here is the preparation protocol that maximizes efficacy for an aging gut. You must grind your flax seeds fresh. Whole flax seeds pass through your digestive tract almost entirely undigested, and you absorb almost none of their active compounds. Buy whole, golden, or brown flax seeds and grind 2 tablespoons in a small coffee grinder each morning. Consume them immediately or within 15 minutes of grinding. The lignans begin oxidizing quickly once the seed is broken open. The simplest delivery method is stirring 2 tablespoons into a small glass of water with a squeeze of lemon, or mixing them into a half cup of plain yogurt or oatmeal. Timing matters here. Consume your ground flaxseed in the morning within the first hour of waking before your cortisol levels peak. Cortisol and androgens interact through shared adrenal pathways, and consuming lignin-rich foods during the morning cortisol window appears to amplify their anti-androgenic effect by working with your natural hormonal rhythm rather than against it. The synergy tip for flaxseed is probiotic-rich foods, specifically live culture yogurt, kefir, or fermented vegetables like kimchi or sauerkraut. Remember that the active compounds depend on gut bacteria to complete their conversion. If you are feeding those bacteria with probiotic foods at the same time you are consuming flaxseed, you are essentially staffing the factory that produces the medicine. A 2020 study in Nutrients Journal found that probiotic supplementation combined with dietary lignans increased enterolactone production, the active DHT inhibiting compound, by 58% compared to lignans alone. 58%, that is not a minor enhancement. That is transformative. I want to tell you about Eleanor, 71, from Portland, Oregon. Eleanor had been dealing with increasingly coarse chin and upper lip hair since her early 60s. She had tried waxing, threading, and eventually spent over $800 on laser sessions that provided only temporary improvement. When I introduced her to this protocol, daily ground flaxseed paired with live kosher yogurt and combined with the spearmint tea and pumpkin seeds from our earlier discussion, the changes she reported at 16 weeks were remarkable. The terminal hair on her chin had reduced in density by what she estimated was more than half. The hair that remained was lighter and finer. She told me, "I feel like I got my face back after 10 years. And not only that, her energy was better, her digestion had improved, and she had lost 6 pounds without trying because the same hormonal improvements that were affecting her hair were also helping regulate her insulin response." When you address the root cause rather than the symptom, the benefits ripple outward in ways you do not always expect. Let me bring this all together for you because I want you to leave this video not just informed, but genuinely equipped to do something different starting today. What you have been dealing with, the chin hair, the stubborn, coarse growth that comes back no matter what you do, is not a cosmetic problem. It is a hormonal signal. Your body is telling you that DHT is elevated relative to estrogen and that the enzyme converting testosterone into that more potent androgen is working overtime. Plucking doesn't change that signal. Waxing doesn't change it. Laser treatments address the output without touching the input. But food, these 3 specific foods used consistently and correctly, can actually intervene at the biochemical level and change what is happening inside the follicle before the hair ever forms. You have earned the right to understand your own body at this level. After everything you have navigated, decades of life, of hormonal shifts, of being told that this is just aging, that this is just the way it is, you deserve to know that the research says otherwise. That there are options that don't require a prescription, a procedure, or a practitioner who dismisses your concerns in a 7-minute appointment. Your independence is not just about mobility or memory. It is about feeling like yourself when you look in the mirror. It is about not planning your social calendar around when you last plucked. It is about reclaiming something small but deeply personal that aging quietly took from you. And I want to say this as directly and warmly as I know how. It is never too late. The women in these studies who saw results were in their 60s, 70s, and even early 80s. Your biology has not closed the door. It is waiting for the right signal. Start with ground flaxseed tomorrow morning. Add the spearmint tea this week. Incorporate pumpkin seeds as your afternoon snack. Give it 60 days of genuine consistency and pay attention to what changes, not just in the hair, but in your energy, your mood, and how you feel in your own skin. All of the scientific references cited in this video are listed in the description below. I encourage you to share them with your doctor and have a real conversation about hormonal health after menopause. If this video helped you today, please share it with a friend or a sister or a neighbor who has been dealing with this quietly. She deserves to know what you now know. Hit the subscribe button so you never miss what we cover next, because next week we are going into the 5 foods that actually rebuild collagen in aging skin after 65. And one of them is something most people are actively avoiding because of outdated nutritional advice. And before you go, leave me a comment right now. Tell me your age. Tell me how long you have been dealing with this. And tell me which of these 3 foods you are going to start with first. I read every single comment, and your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear today. I will see you in the next one.